I'm looking at the rest of their schedule from this perspective. And I know that this is maybe unfair, but on a day like today, I'm excited about the defensive line.
Excited.
I don't know if they're going to all be healthy. I don't know if they'll be that productive every single week. But look at this from the standpoint of quarterbacks. We spent so much time talking about Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow and what they did to this 49er defense. And then it was like, well, now here comes Trevor Lawrence. Well, Trevor Lawrence got turned into somebody who you wouldn't draft. Like, if you saw that tape, you're like, we'll just see if he's still there as a UDFA when the draft's over. He's the number 1 overall pick. And so now I go, all right, well, you know who's coming in next week? Baker.
Yeah.
You good? No, you're not very good. He's fine. But if I were to presuppose that kind of performance from the defensive line, tell me the quarterback still on the schedule who would still be able to function. Now, you have the mobility of Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts still out there. Baker, I give him no chance. And quite frankly, I don't know how closely you've watched Geno this year. He's not last year's Geno.
No.
He's okay.
They win games.
Ish. They're 6-3, yes.
They don't win games-ish. They're tied for first in the West.
They're 6-3.
You could say that Tampa wins games-ish.
Signature win is?
Doesn't matter.
It does if we're talking
You're
about...
6-3.
No, but we're talking about going up against the 49ers.
But I think it's disrespectful to say that they win-ish. They've won 6 of 9.
Then go
They're
ahead.
A playoff team.
Then go ahead and call me disrespectful. Playoff team in the NFC.
Right now, if the season ended today...
No. They're going to the playoffs. It doesn't mean they're good.
They might win the division.
They're not winning the division. In the NFC, dude, the Vikings are going to go to the playoffs. With Josh Dobbs.
He looks good.
He's an adult. His story...
He's making plays, kid.
His story this year, just as a quick aside, if I were HBO, forget Hard Knocks. I wish that a camera could have followed Josh Dobbs this year. From going to the team store in Arizona and being the quarterback of the team and having them not have your jersey available, even on a little computer where you can print one.
Turns out they were smart to not have it.
I guess. They knew he wasn't going to be there.
Cutting down on inventory.
There you go. So then he gets the call from his agent the night before the trade deadline. Hey, you might get traded. Really? Yeah, you might. And then that morning, yep, you did. You go to the Vikings. You play 2 football games in 10 days. Where you're still introducing yourself.
He didn't know where the locker room was yesterday in his first home game.
And he's won them both.
Yeah.
And they have won...
5 in a row, I think.
Is it 4 or 5?
5.
Are they 6 and 4?
5 in a row, yeah.
They've won 5 football games in a row.
Yep. Including a win over your presupposed world-beating Niners.
Yeah, but Josh didn't do that. But you're right. Yes. It's part of their 5-game win streak.
Yeah.
No, the Vikings are very... If you look at it right now, they're a game and a half clear of the next closest team, which is the Bucs, for that last wild card.
For the last wild card, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about the NFC, maybe the AFC too, this may end up, we'll see how it goes, this may end up going down as the most predictable NFL season I've ever seen, which is funny because we sit here going, dude, how are the Niners losing 3 football games in a row? But how often do almost all of the divisions go to the team that we said was going to win the division? Literally, there are only 2 divisions that are a little wobbly as far as predictions, which is the AFC North and the AFC East. Now, we knew Buffalo and Miami were good. We probably would have flip-flopped the order they're in. And Cincinnati was a preseason top 5 Super Bowl favorite. They're currently in last place, even though they've got a winning record.
Right.
They could still end up winning that thing. But we all thought Baltimore was also pretty good.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville to Kansas City to Philly being trailed immediately by Dallas, to Detroit, to New Orleans with a middling record, to the Seahawks and 49ers.
That's the one. The NFC South is...
I thought Saints with a very unimpressive record.
And they've got a half-game lead and a one-game lead.
Right.
That thing is very much... I thought Atlanta would win that division.
Okay,
so.
but it's exactly like we thought it would be. A bunch of teams that are from 5 and 5 to 3 and 6 or whatever.
Good point.
Like that whole, the top of the NFC is literally exactly what we thought it would be. You don't see that very often.
No, and it's only, halfway through or slightly more than halfway through the season, so there can still be some upheaval, but you look at the West and you think Niners and Seattle, yeah, they both probably should be. Arizona stinks, and the Rams aren't what we thought that they eventually used to be or maybe one day will be. Detroit, yeah, everyone was high on Detroit, and there they are at the top. And Minnesota, even though they lost their quarterback, is still right there. And then the East, you're right. I mean, you thought that maybe the Commanders could threaten, but they're not. And then Philadelphia still is the class of the NFC.
I think the Lions have won 14 of their last 18 football games.
Is that the number? Yeah, it's something like that.
You remember their streak that they went on at the end of last year, and they're 7-2 this year. So I think they finished with 7 of 9, and then they've won 7 of 9, 14-4
it's pretty
in their
good.
last 18 football games. That is a team, and just keep this in mind for those of you going, Niners, Eagles, 1 seed, 1 seed. Who's going to be 1 seed? Who's going to be a 2 seed? Just take a listen for a second. The Detroit Lions are 7-2, and all kinds of things can happen. But just listen to me run through what it sounds like the rest of the way for the Detroit Lions. Home to Chicago, home to Green Bay, at the Saints, at Chicago. Home to Denver, at Minnesota, at Dallas, home to Minnesota. Like, at Dallas sounds hard. And outside of that, you'll be favored in all of them.
Yeah, 4 teams with winning records in there.
I think the Lions are 12-5 at worst. At worst would be my guess. I think that
12-5 is a 3 seed.
That's
in
if
the
that
NFC.
maybe. I mean, listen. I'm not going to presuppose. I love that we all come back today and we're just like, so the Niners are going to win the rest of the games.
I would never say that.
Yeah, well,
I think the Seattle game is going to be very difficult.
But we had the caller who said, well, so the Niners still have the inside track at the 1 seed. I'm like, no, they don't.
No,
they don't. Even if they win all the way through Philly, and that makes them 8-3, and Philly would, let's say Philly loses to Kansas City, and Philly would be 8-3. You still have a bunch more games. And you still have the Lions, who might be sitting there at 9-2 when you have that conversation. So, long way to go. Matt in San Rafael next up on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Matt. What's up?
Hey, guys. So I think Philly's going to lose to Dallas in Dallas. I think Dallas had that wake-up call when the Niners woodshedded them, and I think that they're playing good ball. I think they're going to be a tough out as much as I dislike Dallas and don't like saying it. But what I was calling about is the Niners, to me, something I noticed yesterday that I hadn't thought of before, one of the reasons why they were struggling is if you see them come out before games, the 2 guys in front with the boombox are Debo and Trent. And both of those guys were out. And you saw yesterday they had Chase Young out there dancing with them. The guy, they're bringing him in. They're the juice of the offense. Now, Warner leads the defense, and I think Greenlaw does it as well. But on the offense, I honestly don't think anyone but those 2 guys is a true leader of that team. I think McCaffrey is not a leader of the team. I think Kittle in his own way is, but it's a little bit different, and Purdy isn't there yet. Those 2 guys were out, and you just didn't have that, I hate to say it again, juice running through the offense. And it's such a complementary team where they feed off of each other that I think that kind of leaked over into the defense, other things. But yesterday was the first time I thought, both of those guys out is a real problem for this team. One of them I think they can get by.
Matt, I agree. And I don't think it's everything, but it is a thing. That is, when we go through the factors, because it would be interesting. We'll see how this season ends. But to look back and let's say that the last 3 weeks were just like some sort of a blip on the radar. I'm not saying they'll win all the games the rest of the way, but let's say they do go 13-4 or 12-5 or something like that, and you go, boy, that really was an outlier. And you go, so why? What happened? What happened during those 3 weeks? I absolutely think one of the answers on the board is Trent and Debo, and Trent and Debo is 2 answers. There's the football side of that, and then there is the emotional leader side of that. Yeah, it matters. I don't know if it's a swagger thing. It's definitely a football thing. The 49ers, look, lo and behold, suddenly they could run the ball for a good average again. Gee, what changed? I don't know. Best left tackle in football? So It is. It's two things. It's the football side, and then it's the emotional leadership side.
I would put about 90% on the football side, and I'd put about maybe 10% on the emotional side for me. Because the football side, when you watch what they're able to do, watch the opening series, and what do you see? When they get the ball back after Jacksonville goes 3 and out, and the opening 3 or 4 plays, it's Debo in motion, Debo in reverse motion, Debo behind the quarterback, Debo here, Debo there. The fact that he's moving everywhere makes the defense be honest, because you don't know if he's going to get the ball, and he got it twice on end arounds, and he got a couple of swing passes as well. So when Debo is doing those things, you have to honor him, and you have to respect that defense in terms of going side to side. And then you watch what they do offensively. When they need a play, they go to the left, and they go Beyonce to the left, to the left. Trent Williams is out there. It's a toss left. It's a screen left. It's a swing pass left. And it's not by accident. It's because Trent Williams is out there, first ballot Hall of Famer. So I do think that the emotional lift of having your emotional leaders out there carrying the boombox and all the rest of it. But for me, it's the football side of it, because Brandon Ayuk is able to thrive when Debo's in there, because the defense has to react to Debo and all the play actions.
Christian, 5.9 per carry. Now, Elijah Mitchell got 8 carries, 2.9 a carry. Same game, same offensive line.
8 carries, but 6 of them were in garbage time.
Granted. So maybe Trent,
different offensive line.
Trent maybe wasn't in there.
He was gone. Jalen Moore came in.
I look, and Jalen Moore actually been pretty good as a fill-in. He's not Trent, but he's done a nice job. But I there is a question, and I don't know the answer, and it's one of those questions as a member of the media that you can't get an answer to. I would love to open up a bottle of red and sit there with Kyle and go, why doesn't Jordan Mason get in the game?
Doghouse.
What's going on there? Is it? Do you think it's doghouse?
He's in the house, I think. Why else?
I don't know. He's the third-string running back, so the third-string running back doesn't get in.
Well, the second-string running back doesn't get in.
Well, but he did.
Well, in garbage time.
Granted.
And then when you got close to the end zone, it was, let's get CMC the record. Sorry, Eli.
Sure.
Gotta go. And I'm looking at the final drive, and you said he had 8 carries, and I believe you because I looked at the box score. They get the ball back, 34-3, they're ahead. Eli Mitchell for 4. Eli Mitchell, no gain. Purdy passes. Eli Mitchell for 3. Eli Mitchell for 8. Eli Mitchell for 4. Eli Mitchell, no gain. Garbage time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some serious GT minutes.
I guess I don't even have that much of an issue with that. My question might be, if it's garbage time, all the more reason to see what Jordan Mason can give you. I know there are plenty out there who are obsessed with this idea of resting Christian McCaffrey. I have 0 issue with 22 touches. None's issue. Never. Best player, give him the ball. Best player. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I have no issue there. For me, it's just more of a curiosity thing. The last time we saw him, he was running the ball in the end zone against Cleveland. That was the last time we saw him. Christian got hurt. The Niners got a pick. Jordan Mason ran the ball in the end zone. The Niners took the lead. And I don't know if we ever saw him run a significant play again.
No, you haven't.
And that was 3.5 weeks ago.
Minnesota, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, 0-0-0 on carries.
Interesting.
He played 3 plays yesterday, and those must have been the kneel downs. Because I don't remember.
Yeah, there were 3 kneel downs.
That he played 3 snaps. His 3 snaps were kneel.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
to me, that
it's just it's a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher.
It's a question for Bobby Turner, who is the running backs coach. Bobby T, he's the one who kind of calls the shots on the depth chart. If he wasn't in the doghouse, to me, he would have at least gotten a couple of those Eli Mitchell carries. Like throw you a bone, kid. You're working hard. We're going to get you just a little taste of the football.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know. You're saying maybe doghouse, pass blocking. That's usually when a running back has a hard time getting on the field. Like, think of the fantasy players the last 10 weeks who have been like, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, what is the matter with these coaches? What the hell are you doing? Well, I don't know. Was Bijan sick? Are they not that good in pass blocking? Are they trying to ease them into their NFL career? Are they idiots? Like, these things are all on the table. The Falcons coach might be a moron. I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know. Bijan got the ball near the goal line yesterday. Guess what he did with it? He went into the end zone. So I don't know what they know, but there's something there because the last time we saw him, man, he was trucking people against supposedly one of the best defenses in football and dancing in the end zone. And then we never saw him again.
Right.
So, head scratcher.
Yeah, that was 5 carries for 27.
Yeah.
And that was coming off of Dallas where he went 10 for 69. Both games he scored a touchdown. It felt like he was trending
in the right
different direction than he was. I did love what Kyle did yesterday offensively, and I'm just going to bore you with personnel groupings for a minute, but
hit me.
A lot of 22 yesterday. 2 running backs and 2 tight ends. He had Brandon Ayuk as the lone receiver. If you look at Debo, he only played half the snaps. He played about 35 of the 62, and part of that might have been injury.
Right. When he comes off injury, they usually ease him into a game. It happened earlier this year, too.
But even when they did it yesterday, they didn't replace him with Jennings or Ray or anybody. They went straight up 22, and they had Ayuk. There was a couple plays. He was the only receiver. They sent out Kittle and McCaffrey as well, but a lot of times they just went semi-max protect and then threw it to Ayuk as the lone receiver, and it worked.
Yeah, when they get that lead on you, that's when it's like, okay, now we're going to let the physicality take over, and we're going to make you grind your way back into the game, and it's incredibly difficult to do. We talk about, and I think it's over-discussed, because when you're down by 2 scores in the NFL, your winning percentage is really bad. I don't care who you are.
In the fourth quarter, yeah.
If you're Kyle Shanahan, is it worse than others? Maybe.
It has to be.
But as Kurt Warner told us last week, if you're going to pick something to be bad at, pick something that everyone's bad at maybe and just be worse. Like if your bugaboo is, well, when we're down by 14, we usually lose. Okay. That's pretty much everybody. I'd love for the 49ers to be better at the drop back game and just come back in a game. But has anyone given the stat of what about when the Niners have the lead? And how often does that get coughed up? I know everyone's going to immediately go to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But that wasn't this 49er team, I'd argue.
This coach.
It was this coach.
Yeah.
It was not this quarterback. But I wonder what the stats are in terms of when the Niners get a 2-score lead and how often do they cough that game up? And my sense is very, very rarely.
Yeah, and you saw Baltimore do it yesterday.
Yeah, they sure did.
Coughed it up in kind of a funky pick six that led to a 1-score game, and then you couldn't get a first down, and then next thing you know, you lose to Cleveland. But 5 games yesterday in walk-off fashion.
Yeah.
And I sent that text to the group earlier, not knowing that it actually was the most in a single day.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at all the games again this morning, and I was like, damn, it felt like there was a lot of walk-off kicks yesterday, and I counted 5, and it was like, is that a record? And Lucas confirmed that it is some kind of a record.
Sure was, yeah. And then what was the other record? The Cowboys yardage versus the Giants.
The yardage edge.
Was the biggest disparity in the history of the NFL.
468.
Yeah.
Yards.
Yeah.
And it could have been more.
Well, Danny DeVito was playing quarterback. Like, what are we going to do with this?
Latka.
Yeah.
Riga.
Yeah, they were.
The taxi shout out. Yes, I love the young people.
He and Dak are twins, the same way Schwarzenegger and DeVito were years ago. All right, don't miss the kickoff show Sunday. Kruger and O'Neal, 2 hours before the start of the game against the Bucs. You can join us at the Hilton Santa Clara. Delicious food, great drinks, best pregame show in the Bay. We know that. It's presented by Habas Law. You've been wronged. Habas Law will fight to make it right. Call 1-800-INJURED or visit habaslaw.com. We're also presented by Fremont Bank. Full-service banking, no compromises. Yeah, for me, I do walk away from this one feeling like I thought I'd feel, and I actually thought I'd feel this way even if the Niners had won by 7. This was an all-good game. In other words, if that plane flight home comes with a W, hey, I know the last 3 games were really difficult, did not feel good, but it's all good. You go out there and win this way, 34-3, I have a hard time. Maybe this is a prisoner of the moment thought. But sort of getting back to that conversation we had earlier about if you're going to spotlight the single most impressive performances by the good teams in the NFL this year, just spotlight games, go, that was one of the most impressive performances. The Niners have 2 of the top 10, maybe 2 of the top 5 with this game and the Dallas game. I'm thinking of what Baltimore did to Detroit, maybe what Baltimore did to Seattle, what Buffalo.
What Miami did to Denver.
How about but Denver's not a good
They
team.
put up 70 points, Mark.
But Denver's not good. Miami is the definition of
impressive.
But they embarrass the bad teams and can't beat the good ones.
Well, we're not talking about totality of a season, and we could look at an embarrassing loss by the Niners to Minnesota.
But again, what I'm looking at is a good team who performed well against another good team. If you want to call out Minnesota, do it. But Miami, for me, that's actually the problem with them, is they don't do that. They beat up on crap and then look like crap when they play good. That's like what Buffalo did to Miami, more impressive to me than what Miami did to Denver, for sure.
Well, what Jacksonville did to Buffalo. And so
that was good, although you point out that was a little unfair.
I mean, we look at the matchup in any given week, this year maybe more than any other week before.
And that was a close game. Like that, the Dallas and Jags games, dominating performances in every aspect of the game.